Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Daniela Rose. I today will be making a very hearty soup. It's just a really nice way to, I guess, finish off the day and keep your belly nice and warm and full. But I will run you through the ingredients and then the cooking process. So you will need a butternut pumpkin. I will be using half of this very large butternut pumpkin today. A full head of cauliflower, and it's a pretty large one, as you can see. Sweet potato, and that's probably equivalent to one large sweet potato there. Half a white onion, or brown onion should I say. A can of coconut cream. I do prefer cream over milk. And then a range of herbs, which I will be running you through a bit later, but probably the two most important are the Keen's curry powder and the herbamare, which I refer to as the vegan equivalent of chicken salt. So you'll need those, and to get started we're going to start prepping these bits and pieces. Obviously it's a little harder to cut through these types of pumpkins, so you will need a sharp knife to get you through, and it is super dangerous, so if you don't feel very confident using a knife, I strongly suggest maybe finding someone that is, just to do this part of the equation. But as you can see, that's what the inside of the pumpkin looks like. So I'll be using one half today, putting the other half away. And rather than using a knife to peel the outside, I will use a peeler just to remove the skin like so. And this actually minimizes wastage, because if you use a knife you often cut off more of the actual pumpkin that you can use, but this is getting nice and close to the skin. And just using a spoon to spoon out these middle seeds. And if you want to keep these to propagate in future, I strongly suggest placing them in water and cleaning off the fibers, and the seeds that sink to the bottom within 24 hours are the ones that are ready to use in the garden. I've got a tray here that generally comes with your oven, and I've placed some baking paper in there, and I'll be placing all the veggies on the baking paper to cook. And I've just got this pumpkin over here, and it's just a matter of keeping these vegetable pieces pretty nice and chunky in size. Obviously the smaller they are, the quicker they cook. Cutting up the cauliflower into chunky florets like so. So I'll show you the pieces like that, and just laying them out on the baking tray. Using my peeler to peel the outside of these organic sweet potatoes. Once again, we're chopping up the sweet potatoes to be nice and chunky in size. And then this half brown onion, we're simply just going to take the top and the bottom off and peel off the first skin layer like so, and place this whole in the center of this tray. Depending on the power of your oven, I currently have mine on 200 degrees Celsius fan forced. It will probably take between 25 to 30 minutes to get these veggies a little brown and really nice and soft in preparation for the blending process. Before we put them in the oven, however, I'm just going to add a decent lashing of olive oil to the mix. I also like using coconut oil because I find it gives it a nice sweet flavor almost. And then salt, pepper, and some oregano as well. So this is what that tray is looking like. It's going to go straight into the oven for around 25 to 30 minutes. Okie dokie folks, so I have taken this out of the oven, and it took about 25 minutes or so, and as you can see, the top of the cauliflower florets have started to brown. And a really good tip for knowing when this is ready to go is simply getting a fork and sticking it through the actual piece of pumpkin, because they generally cook a little slower than the rest of them. And if you can get the whole way through without any resistance, they're ready to go. I've got my Ninja Auto IQ here, and I'm going to be placing all of these veggies into the blender, adding a couple of bits and pieces, which I'll run you through in a second, but we'll just load this baby up to begin with. Even chucking in that whole onion, as you can see there, oh, it's steaming. And the reason I roast my veggies rather than boiling them is the roasting gives it this depth in flavor. Before we start blending, I've got a can of coconut cream, and I'm going to make sure that I give it a really good shake because the cream itself actually starts to form a layer up the top once it settles. So we just want to break that up. I'm going to add about half of the contents into the mix here. I'm going to add some of the herb amare, which is a really beautiful mix of herbs. I love adding some Keen's curry powder into the mix as well. I generally add about a teaspoon of this into the actual soup. It gives it depth in flavor and a little bit of a bit of a chili punch in the end, but you can start off with a little less and then add more as you progress. With the Auto IQ, they've designed it with a lip that you can actually open up, which is great when you're blending warmer products. Because of the temperature, quite often pressure will build up within the cylinder, but having an opening like so allows it to not explode ultimately. So we'll be placing this on top like so. I keep that lid open, but I still like to just have a tea towel over it just in case some of it decides to come spitting out. And the great thing about this Auto IQ is that it shows you which functions are available for this particular attachment. So in this case, I'm going to go for a high pulse. I've just blended the veggies up. I'm going to take the lid off and just give it a bit of a taste to ensure that I don't need to be adding any more herbs or spices. At this point, if you would like your soup to be a bit more watery in consistency, I personally like my soups to be quite thick because I find they feel a little more filling. You can be adding something like a vegetable stock, a chicken stock if you don't want the meal to be vegan or vegetarian, or you can simply add some water. But ensure that you are adding more spices to keep that flavor balance on point. So let's give this a taste just to show you in regards to consistency. I do like it to be quite thick. And taste wise, that is great. I could probably go and add a little bit more pepper. So I really encourage you to actually taste your food. And then I'm going to close this up, blend the pepper through, and show you what it looks like in a plate. Okay folks, so I've just got a beautiful bowl and I'll show you what this looks like. When it comes to storing this, I suggest having it in a container within the fridge and placing it in the fridge once it actually cools down, because if you place something hot in the fridge, it actually heats up the contents of everything seated around in the actual fridge space. And also another hot tip is, because we've only used half of this coconut cream here, once you do actually open up a can, the inside starts to oxidize. So that's actually really dangerous for our health. It starts to rust and starts to seep into the actual contents that still remains in the can. So I strongly suggest placing it in a plastic container. And here it states that we've got about 2 or 3 days after opening to consume. Really great for making chia pods with. And I'm happy to do a separate video on that if you would like. Give me a little comment down below. But folks, a really quick and easy winter warmer. It's vegan, it's vegetarian, it's gluten-free, really nutritious, delicious. And as I said, there was quite a few serves in there. And I'll just show you up close and personal what that looks like. And I'm gonna go sit down and enjoy this now. So, hope you're looking after yourselves, and I send you blessings from the land down under. Bye folks.